another big part of what we're going to talk about in this series, or this part, is rebar comes in 20-foot sections. This is number 3 rebar, and this is what we've used through all the exterior walls and even some of the interior wall. So what the engineer has called for is for me to have an overlap on this rebar, because I need to have rebar that actually sticks up close to 10 feet. And I'll explain that in a minute why, but number 3 rebar, whenever you join it together, it needs to have a 20-inch overlap, So whenever I put this in the other part of the wall, it's going to have roughly this amount of overlap, and then I'll wire tie it together, or use those the metal ties to tie this together. And then that gives it the strength to act as one full beam. So then when it gets to the very top, after we're done feeding all of our blocks on, we're still going to have just over 2 feet of this sticking out. So this will essentially be the height of the wall. Then what I'll do is I'll actually bend this over at the height, which is 2 inches from the top of the concrete slab. It's going to be a 6-inch slab, and that's going to give us additional weight capacity on the top. We'll get to that when we're there, but I just wanted to show why we're cutting the rebar so long. It's not because the wall's that tall, it's because 1, we have to have the overlap, and 2, we need to have the ability to bend in to give more structural support to the concrete, so we can have more load. So, and we're cutting these at 6'8", so we get 3 out of every 20-foot piece. Thanks for watching. Okay, so this is what we use to anchor our door frame in. Ended up using a 3/8 by 6-inch toggle bolt. And I decided that, there's going to be a lot of weight on this door from picking it up, expecting it to hold a lot. So I'm actually going to put these in every 2 blocks. So it ends up there's going to be 10 total. And what I found is I don't have a big enough gap on the side here, based on how I blocked this in, to put the expansion foam. So thankfully I've got a hinge here, and I'm going to see if I can't take this expansion foam tube. Yeah, there we go. I think it'll work. Okay, I'm going to see if this tube won't go through there, because what I forgot to do as I was getting higher and higher, I didn't actually fill this full of foam. And it's going to take a lot of foam, I think, to fill this whole 5-block area. So what I'm going to try to do is see if I can actually kind of thread this tube into here, make sure that it starts filling this void. There we go, that should be good. And then I'll have to be real quick at the end to make sure that I get that screw back in, otherwise that'll cause other problems. So here we go. I have a feeling this is going to take probably the whole tube. Ooh. Something's coming out around here. I don't know if you can get up top and look and see if it's filling up from the top. Starting to come up? So as I'm doing this, I need to make sure that I continue to have places to fill this as we go through, because it looks like I'm guessing it probably came up to about here, which is about 1/3 of the door. I should be able to use one of these screw holes and up there on the other side to fill this up, but it looks like it's going to take me about 5-6 cans of foam. And I guess I could have probably put a 2x4 or something like that in there to fill up some of the void space. It's not that I wasn't thinking about it, I just wanted to have less things in the way. Or when I was trying to bolt this in, I wanted to make sure that I got a good tight frame, make sure it was nice and level. I actually put the door frame on it, or the door on the frame yesterday. Everything fit perfect. Was feeling real good about it. So that's just this is just some other pieces that we're talking about. The finishing touches to make sure everybody understands the detail that's involved, because some of the detail is important. Okay, thanks. Saw us cutting the rebar. We're 6 high on the blocks, and now what I'm actually in the process of doing is we need a 20 inch overlap. So what I'm using here is I'm actually overlapping the rebar. Again, this is number 3 rebar. Taking it and overlapping it. If you would have actually, if a person would have used number 4 rebar, they could have got by based on the structural engineer doing this every other hole. But number 3 rebar is what we had from purchasing on Craigslist. What I'm using is just this little tool here. It just spins these nice little wire ties and just takes it, and as it gets tighter, it just simply locks it and forms one solid bond then of rebar. So now it's a solid piece. Now I'm going to take one more, and then I'm going to form it a little bit, put a little lower on here so that way it quits rocking back and forth. And this is just, after you do this, this is simply how you tie this together. The reason why this is sticking up so high still is because the block itself is not going to be this high. The block's only going to be another 5 layers. But what we have to do is actually create a little bit of a canopy with the extra rebar that's sticking out, because that helps tie in the walls to the roof and then offers the additional structural support we need for the top of the concrete, not the bottom of the concrete, because we'll have a different thing for that. But this rebar here, we're actually going to take it and we'll actually bend it over. It's going to bend over at a 90-degree angle, and then it will actually help form and give some of the strength to the top of the concrete when we're done. So that's what we're doing today. Thanks for watching. Shalom. Okay, we are back, and I've got my little helper in the hole here, Abby. She's been handing me all these little ties. She's doing a great job, and this is my last tie, and we will have all the outside blocks done. Later on, once we get a little bit more of the interior walls, I'll have to put a couple more ties there, but overall, feeling really good about the progress today. You can look at my shirt. I'm not even sweating. Well, I'm sweating a little bit, but nothing compared to what I normally am. So you can see there's been a change in weather. Therefore, just another big blessing that we've had. You can just see how tight these are on there. They're great. Let me just come out of here real quick and I'll show you one last little feature, which is why we did this. If I can come up here now where we filled in, I'll be able to take my block. Yes, it will be a little bit of a stretch, but I'll still be able to do this and put it down. And we'll be at about this height, which I was talking about earlier. And that distance should be just over 24 inches. And that's the part we're going to take and we're going to bend it in. And that'll be the upper part of the roof. Thanks again. Shalom.